Joining me now are Paolo Fiorini, CEO of Needleye Robotics, and James Chandler, an assistant professor in surgical robots at the University of Leeds. And we're here to discuss the sustainability of medical robots. Thank you both for joining us. If I can come to you first, Paolo, why are medical robots not sustainable at the moment?
Well, first of all, we need to define what sustainability is. We have a different point of view. It could be called economic or more accessible or all of the above. And the problem of medical robotics is that it's very expensive, not only the acquisition, but also the maintenance and the use of the machines. There are very few machines, there is a monopoly, and we talk a lot about medical robotics, but if we look at the number of intervention done by robots, is a minimal part. It's like 0.1% of all the interventions. So the market is huge, and unless we overcome this issue of robotic barrier, too expensive, we will never reach all the potential users.
And James, you're educating the people of the future. So tell us about that from your perspective. How sustainable are they at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, the thing to remember is that these systems are developed to meet some really difficult challenges. They have to operate in very tight spaces, confined environments that are dynamic and of course delicate. So in order to meet those kind of challenges, often the designs are quite intricate engineering pieces of precision. They use lots of exotic materials sometimes in quite intricate combinations. And that makes it difficult to make something that is, say, affordable, that's easy to be reprocessed and reused or even recycled.
And you've both mentioned price being a barrier in terms of usage. What are some of those barriers to make the robotics low cost, Paolo?
As James was pointing out, it's a difficult design, but also the certification and of course the clinical trials are very long and very expensive. My personal opinion is that cost is not part of the design parameters. So once we design these machines, cost is not an issue. So we are not addressing the possibility of designing with not low-performing components, but economic components that can be made to perform excellently. So it's not part of the design. So we have to look into a shift of mentality when we design these devices.
And is that what you're working on, shifting that mentality to get low cost implemented from the very beginning, James?
Yeah, ideally we want to be able to try and prove that we can make systems that are equivalent or better, but using components, using materials that are more cost effective or more affordable and offer a better path towards sustainability. We have to also factor in the kind of economics of the problem as well. So unless you can develop a viable business model using a low cost medical robot, it's hard to see how it can actually make it to market and be a sustainable competitor to the existing products out there.
So we've talked about the barriers. Let's talk about the benefits. So what could be some of the benefits we could gain from having sustainable medical robots?
The main benefit is that we'll be able to satisfy the needs of a very, very broad population. For instance, we are developing with our company a percutaneous system driven by a robot that will partially replace the expensive surgery. But not only the surgery, will replace the need of operating room, the need of trained personnel. So as I said, it's a whole approach to something that is more accessible to areas where these skills and these facilities are not available.
And James, where do you see some of these benefits coming in terms of the sustainable robotics?
Yeah, I think one of the main things is that if we can create, very much echoing what Paolo says, if we can create more sustainable designs, but we can do it in such a way that they are more affordable, this means there's this potential there to have great health benefits and improve health inequality in order to kind of meet some of the UN Sustainable Development Goals that exist. And hopefully we can do that by increasing access, so more doctors and more patients have access to the benefits that can come from robotics.
And Paolo, you mentioned you've come up with a new device, or the company's coming up with a new device. Cost is one element, but are there any other barriers you see in terms of medical robotics? You've said the uptake or the use is so low in terms of percentage. Is it patients? Is it doctors? What's the problem?
Many. Starting with the training, the availability of the personnel. It takes a lot of expertise to use a robot, although it's marketed, it's very easy to use, but it's not true. Basically, these are the barriers. the lack of personnel that can, but the whole team that can handle the robot. Making something that is not only economic, but economically maintaining and operating, need less people. For instance, we are trying to shift from operating room to ambulatory procedures, where every physician can do it in his own office. And that will reduce the need of anesthesiologist, of scrubbing, all kind of things. And so it's a whole chain of effect that we can trigger by developing something that is more accessible.
And James, is this where you see the direction of the robotics being used from, say, the ambulance all the way to the operating theatres?
I think there's a potential case for that. There will always be a strong presence in the hospital, but we can hope that we can produce some systems that are simple enough, that are portable enough, that could be used in different locations, so that the benefit can be spread kind of further to patients in need.
And would you say patients are quite sceptical at the moment?
That's a sort of a balanced opinion. I think some are obviously fearful of when they hear the word robotics implied, but others are more open-minded. And I think as we kind of get more used to robots being in our everyday lives, I think the perception will shift, but we'll have to see.
Thank you both for joining us. Really insightful conversation. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.